Firefighters have as many injuries and lose as many people as police officers do. But the only thing that really matters is there's enough firefighters. Firefighters protecting firefighters. That's the big deal. That's what it all comes down to. And I just want you to know that you have the full support of my government, my administration, I should say, and all those who have major roles in the government, from the Department of Agriculture to the Department of Interior, just across the board. And so and I want to acknowledge Senator Risch's and Crapo can't be here, and Senator Wyden and Markley were going to come from, Merkley were going to come from Oregon. We got a call while in flight. The weather's so bad they can't make it here. And so I just want to thank them for the incredible work they do as well, because this is one of the areas where we do have some overwhelming bipartisan support. And here at the National Interagency Fire Center, the hub that's designed to coordinate the resources to fight wildfires, I'm here to hear what's on your mind and what more that I should be doing, my administration be doing, to try to help. You know, folks, you know the time of the year when the air fills with smoke and the sky turns a little orange. But that time of year getting earlier every year. And, you know, last week, the air in Boise was thick with smoke from California and from Oregon. And, you know, this year, as you've pointed out, Grant, you know, 44,000 wildfires, 5.4 million acres burned. That's larger than the entire state of New Jersey. When I say that back east, they're used to floods and storms. When I say that back east, it's just unfathomable. First of all, they don't fully understand how big the West is. But more acreage is burned than the entire state of New Jersey, which is a big state. And you know, California, 2.2 million acres this year, already this year. The Dixie Fire, 1 million acres. The Calder Fire, 200,000 acres, 1,000 structures. And God knows how many lives risked or lost trying to deal with it. You know, you've saved many communities, the firefighters, and you saved South Lake Tahoe. And what people are beginning to realize is you risk your lives to do it. And thank God we have you. But you know, fires and frequency of ferocity of these fires, I'm having a lot of international meetings with our colleagues around the world. They're asking. Australia, really worried. Australia helping, but are trying to figure it out. Canada. I mean, just go around the world. And so, folks, look, the fact is that we're in a situation where too many memorials have been held, and I've directed my administration to provide for pay bonuses and incentives to ensure every federal firefighter, because that's the only authority I have, makes at least $15 an hour. I mean, they should make a heck of a lot more, but at least $15 an hour. And I'm committing to work with Congress to raise the pay gap for federal wildland firefighters. FEMA, 33 fire management assistant grants to help states pay for the cost of firefighting. It's still not enough. The costs are enormous, you have. And so, you know, believe it or not, the massive shortage of fire hoses. I think you all get it. But the idea that we went into this fire season with a shortage of fire hoses, that's all I heard from my guys back east and in the Midwest. No fire hoses. Well, fortunately, they thought a long time ago about a thing called the National Defense Act. And what I was able to do, the Defense Production Act, and I was able to restart production of bringing bringing a lot of people back to work, delivering 21,920 new feet of fire hose in the front lines, putting a company back to work that was out of business, that stopped manufacturing. You know, and the majors here, he knows about this. Well, we have a commitment at the Department of Defense to defend home as well as abroad, and that includes the fire service. We have C-130s for fire suppression, RC-26 aircraft to provide critical fire imagery, and they're based in California. They've flown over 1,000 missions so far, 250 active duty troops, and I've gotten no pushback from the Department of Defense in this at all, none, to the Dixie Fire in California, and sharing satellite imagery that we have available to us to help monitor the growth of fires. I've directed the EPA to use this new technology we have to deliver smoke and fire and air quality information directly to people's iPhones. We'll be able to do that very shortly. It may have already begun in some places. And but one of the things we have to do is we have to build back better than what happened before all this began to come apart. And so we have a proposal, and by the way, both my Republican colleagues from this state and the Democratic colleagues from Oregon who are going to try to be here, we all support this bill I put together on infrastructure. So when we build back, we can build back better than it was before. And it literally provides for billions of dollars for wildfire preparedness, resilience and response, forest management, and public water sources. Public water sources. What people back east don't quite get is that we're not for the fact we made significant investments years ago in everything from the Hoover Dam to a whole range of other things out here. A lot of people south of you wouldn't have any water, and how valuable and serious the access to that water is across the board. And you know, we need to add, we have $14 billion for disaster needs, including $9 billion for communities hit with wildfire and drought. We got to pass it. Got to get it done. It's gone through both houses. But that's going to, I hope, Governor, be of significant help to you. Because states can't burden it, especially smaller states. You're a big state, but I mean smaller states in terms of population can't carry this on their back. And so, you know, this is, we're one America. You know, we have a federal system because each part of the country is supposed to make up for what the other parts of the country didn't have. And so, you know, we need to do more. We've asked for $14 billion for disaster needs, including, as I said, that $9 billion for community. This is over a 10-year period for hit by wildfires and drought. And, you know, we can't continue to try to ignore reality. President Obama used to always kid me. I say, you know, reality has a way of working its way in. Well, you know, the reality is we have a global warming problem, a serious global warming problem. And it's consequential, and what's going to happen is things aren't going to go back to what they were. It's not like you can build back to what it was before. It's not going to get any better than it is today. It only can get worse, not better. It's not like we're going to not have more problems. But we can do this, in my view. The scientists have warned us for years. The failure to curb pollution from smokestacks and automobiles and a whole range of other things is going to take its consequences. And I learned a long time ago, Gov, that as a U.S. Senator back east, that all the major streams and ponds and lakes, and for example, in New York State, they're being polluted. The fish were dying. Things were changing. And you know what it was all from? It wasn't because of what they're doing in upstate New York. It's because of smokestacks in Chicago, steel plants, because it carries the wind carries that pollution at a height that doesn't affect the state of Illinois or doesn't affect the state of Indiana, doesn't affect, but it eventually comes down. Well, you know, I guess you all, I know you all know it. You know, you have the smoke from the fires in California on the East Coast. And sometimes blotting out the sky. People are not just worried about COVID, they're worried about what their kids are going to be breathing. And so every dollar we invest in resilience, this is part of my message here. And there's a lot more I want to hear from you that you think we should be doing, and I think we should be doing as well. But for every dollar we invest in resilience, that is building back better, we save $6 down the road in the future. And you know, you all know the number. Studies show extreme weather cost America last year $99 billion. Extreme weather. It's not just fires. I mean, more people died. I was in Louisiana, Mississippi, all through the south for Hurricane Ada. Well, guess what? More people died in Brooklyn than died in Louisiana. More people. The floodwaters were immense. Never seen anything like it. People were drowning in their homes because there was tornado warnings that go to their basement, and all of a sudden the flood comes through the windows, up to the ceiling, can't get out, people dying. So I guess to state the obvious, you all are incredible in what you're doing. But I also think about the jobs we're losing due to the impact of supply chains and industries that are being held up. I'm looking forward to this briefing. My message to you is, when we build back, we have to build back better. It's not a Democrat thing, it's not a Republican thing, it's a weather thing. It's a reality. It's serious. And we can do this. We can do this. And in the process, building back, we can create jobs, not lose jobs. We can create jobs. So you know, I'm going to stop here and turn it back to you, Grant. Thanks for hosting us. And I understand, as a former smoke jumper, you're crazy too. God love you all. I grew up in a little town called Claymont, Delaware, and I went to school. I used to tell Frank Church this. I got my first job offer where I wanted, my wife, deceased wife, and I wanted to move to Idaho because we think, not a joke, it's such a beautiful, beautiful state. And I interviewed for a job with Boise Cascade. And in the meantime, there was a war going on. Anyway, but the whole point was that I used to always kid Frank, but I grew up in this little steel town called Claymont, Delaware, when Scranton shut down because of coal dying. And I went to a little Catholic grade school called Holy Rosary. And it was on, before I-95, there used to be a thing called the Philadelphia Pike. And so my mom would drive me from, we only lived about a mile from school, and the school bus wasn't around then, and drive me to the parking lot. And right across the street from the school was a fire station, Claymont Fire, volunteer fire company, but they're really good. And so all the guys who grew up either became cops, firefighters, or priests. I wasn't qualified for any of them, so I'm here. But all kidding aside, you guys and women are incredible. You're incredible at what you do. It's not hyperbole. If you know anything about me, you know my long relationship with firefighters. I mean it from the bottom of my heart. And we owe you more than just our thanks. We owe you what you need to deal with these problems. I'm sorry to go on so long. Thank you. And I'll turn it back to you, Grant. I guess that's who I'm turning it back to. I don't know who. Anyway, whoever is to do the talk.
That would be me. Thank you, Mr. President. And you're right, I was a smoke jumper, only because I trained to be a teacher, and that was way too difficult and scary. So I did something that was way easier.
That's why I left the county council.
There you go. The National Association of State Foresters is a key partner of ours. George Geisler is representing them today. He's a state forester from the great state of Washington. Welcome, George. I know you got a couple things to say, so have at it.
Yes. Thank you, Grant, and thank you, Mr. President, for this opportunity to give you a little bit of insight as to the role that state and local governments can play in our interagency wildland fire management world. As Grant said, safe and effective fire management requires the commitment, the cooperation, and the coordination of all of us, all of our partners. State forestry agencies, such as my own, Washington Department of Natural Resources, the Florida Forest Service, and California's CAL FIRE, are the primary agencies that are responsible for wildland fire suppression in our states. And we're partners here at the National Interagency Fire Center with a fire director who sits on NMAC and helps to decide each day the priorities that occur in this nation. Federal, state, tribal, and local agencies all benefit from this collaborative effort that helps move national air and ground resources to the areas of greatest threat while still ensuring all agencies are supported in the firefighting effort. Within the cooperative structure of the cohesive strategy and then formalized by our master interagency wildland fire management agreements, states are routinely fighting fire on federal lands alongside the federal agencies, and then they turn around and are helping us on our own fires because, as you said, fire knows no boundaries. Nationwide, state forestry agencies are responsible for wildfire protection on about 1.5 billion acres, and about 1.1 billion of those acres are actually state and privately owned forest lands. And so far this year, of those 44,000 fires that you've heard, states have responded to about 33,000 of those. We routinely are about 75% of the numbers of wildfires that occur in this country. So states contribute, in addition to that, just hundreds of millions of dollars annually to provide wildland firefighting resources, like firefighters, engines, heavy equipment, aircraft. And all of this goes into the national effort along with our federal partners. And federal funding, such as state fire assistance and volunteer fire assistance that we receive through the U.S. Forest Service, actually helps to expand that capacity as well as maintain it. And all of that is really getting it down to that, helping the rural volunteer fire departments that we all know are across the U.S. The partnership and all of the cooperation between state and local governments, though, it's not just for wildfire suppression, like you said. Through Good Neighbor Authority, through shared stewardship, we work together with our local governments, with our tribal partners, and we do all of the critical fuels mitigation work. We do the forest health treatments that are out there. And we're trying to work, as you said, to improve the resiliency of these landscapes as we go and see the impacts of climate change. And all of this really provides assistance directly to the communities that we have out there. And as you know, wildfires are impacting entire communities in the United States. These annual occurrences place millions of Americans at risk, and they're no longer limited to just what you see about in the news in the West. We have fires, it's now a fire year, and we routinely have fires throughout all 50 states. But the threat to catastrophic wildfire in America's wildland-urban interface, it really demands national attention. And it needs to be unified, it needs to be multifaceted, it needs to take on prevention, mitigation, response, and recovery. And it's just like you see wildland fire suppression being managed at this building, we need that effort to protect our wildland-urban interface. So as chair of the National Association of State Foresters Wildland Committee, I really do appreciate you coming and putting this focus on wildland fire suppression and what we can all do together to address this issue that we're all facing, be it climate change, landscape resiliency, or the threats to our communities, and look forward to working with you.